Hello and welcome to this special second look exploring session looking at the Maid's Metamorphosis, as it has been sundry times played by the children of Paul's. This is, I say, a second look. We're going to be running through the text at pace in this particular instance, look at how the text functions for very textual sort of reasons, and the fact that may be where the discussion at the end of the run moves primarily towards. Yes, we've got a huge array of readers, so many in fact that I'm not going to read out who's playing what part and invite everyone to announce themselves. I'm just going to ask everyone to wave and say hello now. Hello.
Hello.
Lovely. Now, I'm also not in charge. I'm just reading and topping and tailing to make you feel like this isn't going horribly wrong and you're confused. Why is this different to the other normal videos? So I will now hand over to Dan, who's going to moderate and generally keep everything ticking forward as we look at the play.
Wonderful. So thank you all for joining us for this special reading of Maid's Metamorphosis. I think we could probably just start if everyone is ready with the prologue. And if anyone's got any issues, obviously we can flag them up in the chat. So brilliant. Whenever you're ready, Lois.
The manifold great favors we have found by you to us poor weaklings still extended, whereof your virtues have been only ground, and no desert in us to be so friendlet, binds us some way or other to express, though all our all be else defeated quite of any means, save duteous thankfulness, which is the utmost measure of our might. Then, to the boundless ocean of your worth, this little drop of water we present, where, though it never can be singled forth, let zeal be pleader for our good intent. Drops not diminish, but increase great floods, and might impair not, but augment our goods.
Philander and Orestes, what conceit troubles your silent minds? Let me entreat, since we are come thus far, as we do walk, you would devise some pretty pleasant talk. The air's cool, the evening high and fair, why should your cloudy looks then show despair?
Believe me, fair Eurymine, my skill is simple in discourse and utterance ill. Orestes, if he were disposed to try, can better manage such affairs than I.
Why then, Orestes, let me crave of you some old or late done story to renew. Another time you shall request of me as good, if not a greater courtesy.
Trusting me, as now, nor can I show a reason. All mirth unto my mind comes out of season. For inward I am troubled in such sort as all unfit I am to make report of anything may breed the least delight. Rather in tears I wish the day were night. For neither can myself be merry now, nor treat of aught that may be liked of you.
That's but your melancholic old disease, that never are disposed but when ye please.
Nay, mistress. Then, since he denies the task, myself will straight accomplish what ye ask. And though the pleasure in my tale be small, yet may it serve to pass the time withal.
Thanks, good Philander. When you please, say on. Better I deem a bad discourse than none.
Sometime there lived a duke, not far from hence, mighty in fame and virtue's excellence. Subjects he had, as ready to obey as he to rule, beloved every way. But that which most of all he gloried in, hope of his age and comfort of his kin, was the fruition of one only son, a gallant youth, inferior to none for virtue, shape, or excellence of wit, that after him upon his throne might sit. This youth, when once he came to perfect age, the Duke would fain have linked in marriage with divers dames of honourable blood, but still his father's purpose he withstood.
How? Was he not of metal apt to love?
Yes, apt enough, as will the sequel prove. But so the stream of his affection lay, as he did lean a quite contrary way. disproving still the choice his father made, and oftentimes the matter had delayed, now giving hope he would at length consent, and then again excusing his intent.
What made him so repugnant in his deeds?
Another love, which this disorder breeds. For even at home, within his father's court, the saint was shrined whom he did honour most, a lovely dame, a virgin pure and chaste, and worthy of a prince to be embraced, had but her birth, which was obscure, they said, answered her beauty. This their opinion stayed. Yet did this wilful youth affect her still, and none but she was mistress of his will. Full often did his father him dissuade from liking such a mean and low-born maid. The more his father strove to change his mind, the more the son became with fancy blind.
Alas, how sped the silly lovers then?
As might even grieve the rude, uncivilest men. When hereupon to wean his fixed heart from such dishonour to his high desert, the Duke had laboured but in vain to strive, thus he began his purpose to contrive. Two of his servants, of undoubted truth, he bound by virtue of a solemn oath to train the silly damsel out of sight, and there, in secret, to bereave her quite.
Of what? Her life?
Yes, madam, of her life, which was the cause of all the former strife.
And did they kill her?
You shall hear anon. The question first must be decided on. In your opinion, what's your judgment, say? Who were most cruel? Those that did obey, or he that gave commandment for the fact?
In each of them it was a bloody act, yet they deserve, to speak my mind of both, most pardon that were bound thereto by oath.
It is enough. We do accept your doom to pass unblamed, whate'er of you become.
To pass unblamed whate'er become of me? What may the meaning of these speeches be?
Eurymine, my trembling tongue doth fail. My conscience irks, my fainting senses quail. My faltering speech bewrays my guilty thought and stammers at the message we have brought.
Ay me, what horror doth invade my breast?
Nay then, Philander, I will tell the rest. Damsel, thus fares thy case. Demand not why. You must forthwith prepare yourself to die. Therefore, dispatch and set your mind at rest.
Philander, is it true, or doth he jest?
There is no remedy, but you must die. By you I framed my tragic history. The Duke, my master, is the man I meant, his son the prince. The maid of mean descent yourself, on whom Ascanio so doth dote as for no reason may remove his thought. Your death, the Duke determines by us two, to end the love betwixt his son and you, and for that cause we trained you to this wood, where you must sacrifice your dearest blood.
Respect my tears,
We must regard our oath.
my tender years,
Are but trifles both.
mine innocency.
That would our promise beg. Dispatch forthwith. We may not hear you speak.
If neither tears nor innocency move, yet think there is a heavenly power above.
Adon, and stand not preaching here all day.
Then since there is no remedy, I pray yet, good my masters, do but stay so long till I have taken my farewell with a song of him whom I shall never see again.
We will afford you that respite to your pain.
But least the fear of death appall my mind, sweet gentlemen, let me this favour find, that you will veil mine eyesight with this scarf, that when the fatal stroke is aimed at me, I may not start, but suffer patiently.
Agreed. Give me. I'll shadow you from here, if this may do it.
Oh, I would it might. But shadows want the power to do that right. Yet sacred fires and powers above forge of desires working love. Cast down your eye upon a maid in misery. My sacrifice is lover's blood, and from salt tears, and from eyes salt tears a flood. All which I spend, all which I spend, all which I spend for the Ascanio, my dear friend. And though this hour I must feel the bitter power of pricking steel, yet ill or well, to the Ascanio, still farewell, farewell, still farewell.
Ah,
It means Philander.
oh, forbear thy stroke. Her piteous moan and gesture might provoke hard flints to Ruth.
Hast thou forgot thy oath?
Forgot it? No.
Then wherefore dost thou interrupt me so?
Oh, a sudden terror overcomes my thought.
It's self of me that stands in fear of naught.
Oh, hold, Orestes. Hear my reason first.
Is all religion of thy vow forgot? Do as thou wilt, but forget it not.
Orestes, if thou standst upon thine oath, let me alone to answer for us both.
What answer canst thou give? I will not stay.
Nay, villain. Then my sword shall make my way.
Wilt thou in this against thy conscience strive?
I will defend a woman while I live. A virgin and an innocent beside, therefore put up, or else thy chance abide.
I'll never sheath my sword, unless thou shall, our oath reserved, we may let her go.
That will I do, if truth may be of force.
Then will I be pleased to grant remorse.
Little thought I when out of door I went, that thus my life should stand on argument.
A lawful oath in an unlawful cause is first dispensed withal by reason's laws. Then next respect must to the end be had, because the intent doth make it good or bad. Now here, the intent is murder. Hast thou ceased? Which to perform, thou on thy oath reliest. But since the wicked cause is wicked and unjust, the effect must likewise be held odious. We swore to kill, and God forbids to kill. Should we be ruled by him or by man's will? Beside, it is a woman is condemned. And what is he that is a man indeed that can endure to see a woman bleed?
Thou hast prevailed. Eurymine, stand up. I will not touch thee for a world of gold.
Why, now thou seemst to be of humane mould. But on our grant, fair maid, that you shall live, will you to us your faithful promise give, henceforth to abandon this your country quite, and never more return into the sight of fierce Telemachus, the angry duke? Thereby we may be void of all rebuke.
Here do I plight my chaste unspotted hand. I will abjure this most accursed land, and vow henceforth what fortune e'er betide within these woods and deserts to abide.
Now wants there nothing but a fit excuse to sue the duke in his conceived abuse, that he may be persuaded she is slain, and we our wonted favour still maintain.
It shall be thus. Within a lawn hard by, obscure with bushes where no human eye can any way discover our deceit, there feeds a herd of goats and country neat. Some kid or other youngling will we take, and without swords dispatch it for her sake. And having slain it, rip his panting breast, and take the heart of the unguilty beast, which to the intent our counterfeit report may seem more likely, we will bear to court, and there protest with bloody weapons drawn, it was her heart.
Then likewise take this lawn, which well Telemachus did know she wore, and let it be all spotted too with gore. How say you, mistress? Will you spare that veil?
That or what else to verify your tale? And thanks, Philander and Orestes both, that you preserve me from a tyrant's wrath.
I would it were within my power, I wis, to do you greater courtesy than this. But what we cannot by our deeds express, in heart we wish to ease your heaviness.
A double debt. Yet one word ere you go. Command me to my dear Ascanio, whose loyal love and presence to forego doth gall me more than all my other woe.
Our lives shall never want to do him good.
Nor yet our death, if he in danger stood. And mistress, so good fortune be your guide.
And aught that may be fortunate beside.
The like I wish unto yourselves again, and many happy days devoid of pain. And now, Eurymine, record thy state, so much dejected and oppressed by fate. What hope remains? Wherein hast thou to joy? Wherein to triumph but thine own annoy? If ever wretch might tell of misery, then I, alas, poor I, am only she. Unknown of parents, destitute of friends, hopeful of naught but what misfortune sends, banished to live a fugitive, alone, in uncouth paths and regions never known. Behold, Ascanio, for thy only sake these tedious travels I must undertake. Nor do I grudge. The pain seems less to me in that I suffer this distress for thee.
Well met, fair nymph, or goddess if you be. It is strange, methinks, that one of your degree should walk these solitary groves alone.
It were no marvel if you knew my moan. But what are you that question me so far?
My habit tells you that. A forester, that having lost a herd of skittish deer was of good hope I should have found them here.
Trust me, I saw not any, so farewell.
Nay, stay, and further of your fortunes tell. I am not one that means you any harm.
I think my boy be fled away by charm. Ranger, well met. Within thy walk, I pray, saw'st thou not Mopso, my unhappy boy?
Shepherd, not I. What means to seek him here?
Because the wag, possessed with doubtful fear lest I would beat him for a fault he did, amongst those trees I do suspect he is hid. But how now, Ranger? You mistake, I trout. This is a lady, and no barren doe.
It is indeed, and as it seems distressed, whose grief to know I humbly made request, but she as yet will not reveal the same.
Perhaps to me she will. Speak, gentle dame, what danger great hath driven you to this place? Make known your state, and look what slender grace a shepherd's poor ability may yield, you shall be sure of ere I leave the field.
Alas, good sir, the cause may not be known that hath enforced me to be here alone.
Nay, fear not to discover what you are. It may be we may remedy your care.
Since needs you will that I renew my grief, whether it be my chance to find relief or not, I reek not. Such my crosses are, as sooner I expect to meet despair. Then thus it is, not far from hence do dwell my parents, of the world esteemed well, who with their bitter threats my grant had won this day to marry with a neighbor's son, and such a one to whom I should be wise as I could never fancy in my life. And therefore to avoid that endless thrall, this morn I came away and left them all.
Now trust me, virgin, they were much unkind to seek to match you so against your mind.
It was beside unnatural constraint, but by the tenure of your just complaint, it seems that you are not minded to return, nor any more to dwell where you were born.
It is my purpose if I might obtain a place of refuge where I might remain.
Why, go with me. My lodge is not far off, where you shall have such hospitality as shall be for your health and safety.
Soft, Ranger, you do range beyond your skill. My house is nearer, and for my good will it shall exceed a woodman's wooden stuff. Then go with me. I'll keep you safe enough.
I'll bring her to a bower beset with green.
And I, an arbor, may delight a queen.
Her diet shall be venison at my board.
Young kid and lamb we shepherds can afford.
And nothing else?
Yes, ranging now and then, a hog, a goose, a capon, or a hen.
These walks are mine amongst the shady trees.
For that I have a garden full of bees, whose buzzing music with the flowers sweet each eve and morning shall her senses greet.
The nightingale is my continual clock.
And mine the watchful, sin-remembering cock.
A hunsup I can tune her with my hounds.
And I can show her meads and fruitful grounds.
Within these woods are many pleasant springs.
Betwixt yon dales the echo daily sings.
I marvel that a rustic shepherd dare with woodmen then audaciously compare. Why, hunting is a pleasure for a king, and gods themselves sometimes frequent the thing. Diana, with her bow and arrows keen, did often use the chase in forests green. And so, alas, the good Athenian knight and swift Actaeon herein took delight. And Atalanta, the Arcadian dame, conceived such wondrous pleasure in the game that with her train of nymphs attending on, she came to hunt the boar of Calydon.
Yeah, so did Apollo walk with shepherd's crook. And many kings their sceptres have forsook to lead the quiet life we shepherds took, accounting it a refuge for their woe.
But we take choice of many a pleasant walk, and mark the deer how they begin to stalk, where each according to his age and time pricks up his head and bears a princely mind. The lusty stag, conductor of the train, leads all the herd in order down the plain. The baser rascals scatter here and there, as not presuming to approach so near.
So shepherds sometimes sit upon a hill or in the cooling shadow of a mill, and as we sit, unto our pipes we sing, and therewith make the neighbouring groves to ring. And when the sun seals downward to the west, we leave our chat and whistle in the first, which is a signal to our straggling flock, as trumpets sound to men in martial shock.
Shall I be thus outfaced by a swain? I'll have a guard to wait upon her train of gallant woodmen, clad in comely green, the like whereof hath seldom yet been seen.
And I of shepherds such a lusty crew as never forester the like yet knew, who for their persons and their neat array shall be as fresh as is the month of May. Where are you here, you merry noted swains? Draw near a while, and whilst upon the plains your flocks do gently feed, let's see your skill. How you with chanting can sad sorrow kill.
Thinks Gemulo to bear the bell away by singing of a simple roundelay. No, I have fellows whose melodious throats shall even as far exceed those homely notes as doth the nightingale in music pass, the most melodious bird that ever was. And for an instance, here they are at hand. When they have done, let our deserts be scanned.
Ah, thanks to you both. You both deserve so well, as I want skill your worthiness to tell. And both I do commend for your goodwill. And both I'll honor, love, and reverence still, for never virgin had such kindness shown of strangers, yea, and man to her unknown. But more, to end this sudden controversy, since I am made an umpire in the plea, this is my verdict. I'll entreat of you a cottage for my dwelling, and of you a flock to tend. And so indifferent my grateful pains on either shall be spent.
I am agreed, and for the love I bear, I'll boast I have a tenant is so fair.
And I will hold it as a rich possession that she vouchsafes to be of my profession.
Then, for a sign that no man here hath wrong, from hence let's all conduct her with a song.
Away, Joculo.
Yes, sir, at hand.
Joculo, where is she?
I know not.
When went she?
I know not.
Which way went she?
I know not.
Where should I seek her?
I know not.
When shall I find her?
I know not.
Oh, vengeance take thee, slave! What dost thou know?
Marry, sir, that I do know.
What, villain?
And you be so testy, go look. What a coil's here with you? If we knew where she were, what need we seek her? I think you're a lunatic. Where were you when you should have looked after her? Now you go crying up and down after your wench like a boy had lost his horn book.
Ah, my sweet boy.
Oh, my sweet master. Nay, I can give you as good words as you can give me, all's one for that.
What, canst thou give me no relief?
Faith, sir, there comes not one morsel of comfort from my lips to sustain that hungry maw of your misery. There is such a dearth at this time, God amend it.
Oh, Joculo, my breast is full of grief, and yet my hope that only wants relief.
Your breast and my belly are in two contrary keys. You walk to get stomach to your meat, and I walk to get meat to my stomach. Your breast's full, and my belly's empty. If they chance to part in this case, God send them merry meeting, that my belly be full and your breast be empty.
Boy, for the love that ever thou didst owe to thy dear master, poor Ascanio, rack thy proved wits unto the highest strain to bring me back Eurymine again.
Nay, master, if wit could do it, I could tell you more. But if it ever be done, the very legerity of the feet must do it. These 10 nimble bones must do the deed. I'll trot like a little dog. There's not a bush so big as my beard, but I'll be peeping in it. There's not a coat, but I'll search every corner. If she be above or beneath, over the ground or under, I'll find her out.
Stay, Joculo. Alas, it cannot be. If we should part, I lose both her and thee. The woods are wind, and wandering thus about, thou'lt be lost, and not my love found out.
I pray you, let me go.
I pray thee, stay.
If faith I'll run.
And dost not know which way.
Anyway, all's one, I'll draw dry foot. If you send not to seek her, you may lie here long enough before she come to seek you. She little thinks that you are hunting for her in these quarters.
Oh, Joculo, before I leave, my boy, of this world's comfort, now my only joy, seest thou this place? Upon this grassy bed, with summer's gaudy diaper bespread, under these shadows shall my dwelling be, till thou return, sweet Joculo, to me.
And if my convoy be not cut off by the way, it shall not be long before I be with you. Well, I pray you look to my master, for here I leave him amongst you, and if I chance to light on the wench, you shall hear of me by the next wind.
In vain, I fear, I beat my brains about, proving by search to find my mistress out. Eurymine, Eurymine, return, and with thy presence gild the beauteous morn, and yet I fear to call upon thy name. The prattling echo she should learn the same, and the last word's accent she'll no more prolong, but bear that sound upon her airy tongue, adorned with the presence of my love. The woods, I fear, such secret power shall prove, as they'll shut up each path, hide every way, because they still would have her go astray. and in that place would always have her seen, only because they would be evergreen, and keep the winged choristers still there to banish winter clean out of the year. But why persist I to bemoan my state, when she is gone, and my complaint too late? A drowsy dullness closeth up my sight. O powerful sleep, I yield unto thy might.
Come hither, Iris.
Iris is at hand to attend Jove's wife, great Juno's high command.
Iris, I know I do thy service prove, and ever since I was the wife of Jove, thou hast been ready when I called still, and always most obedient to my will. Thou seest how that imperial queen of love, with all the gods, how she prevails above, and still against great Juno's hests does stand, to have all stoop and bow at her command. Her doves and swans and sparrows must be graced, and on love's altars must be highly placed. My starry peacocks, which doth bear my state, scarcely allowed within his palace gate. And since herself she thus preferred doth see, now the proud hussif will contend with me, and practiseth her wanton pranks to play with this Ascanio and Eurymine. But love shall know, in spite of all his skill, Juno's a woman and will have her will.
What is my goddess will, may Iris ask?
Iris, on thee I do impose this task, to cross proud Venus and her purblind lad, until the mother and her brat be mad, and with each other set them so at odds, till to their teeth they curse and ban the gods.
Goddess, the grant consists alone in you.
Then mark the course which now you must pursue. Within this o'ergrown forest there is found a dusky cave thrust low into the ground, so ugly dark, so dampy, and so steep, as for his life the sun durst never peep into the entrance, which doth so affright the very day that half the world is night. Where fenish fogs and vapors do abound, there Morpheus doth dwell within the ground. No crowing cock nor waking bell doth call, nor watchful dog disturbeth sleep at all. No sound is heard in compass of the hill, but everything is quiet, hushed, and still. Amid the cave upon the ground doth lie a hollow plancher all of ebony, covered with black, whereon the drowsy god, drowned in sleep, continually doth nod. Go, Iris, go, and my commandment take, and beat against the doors till sleep awake. Bid him from me in vision to appear unto Ascanio that lieth slumbering here, and in that vision to reveal the way how he may find the fair Eurymine.
Madam, my service is at your command.
Dispatch it then, good Iris, out of hand. My peacocks and my chariots shall remain above the shore till thou return again.
About the business, now that I am sent to sleep's black cave, I will incontinent, and his dark cabin boldly will I shake, until the drowsy lumpish god awake. And such a bouncing at his cave I'll keep, that if pale death seized on the eyes of sleep, I'll rouse him up, that when he shall me hear, I'll make his locks stand up on end with fear. Be silent, air, while Iris in her pride, swifter than thought, upon the winds doth ride. What, Somnus? What, Somnus? Somnus? What, wilt thou not awake? Art thou still so fast? Nay then, if faith, I'll have another cast. What, Somnus? Somnus, I say.
Who calls at this time of the day? What bawling dost thou keep? Vengeance take thee. Let me sleep.
Up, thou drowsy god, I say, and come presently away, or I will beat upon this door, that after this thou sleepst no more.
I'll take a nap and come along anon.
Out, you beast, you block, you stone. Come, or at thy door I'll thunder, till both heaven and hell do wonder. Somnus, I say.
The vengeance split thy chaps asunder.
What, Somnus?
Charis, thought it would be thee. How now, mad wench? What wouldst with me?
From mighty Juno, Jove's immortal wife, Somnus, I come to charge thee on thy life, that thou unto this gentleman appear, and in this place, thus as he lieth here, present his mistress to his inward eyes, in as true manner as thou canst devise.
I would thou wert hanged for waking me. 3 sons I have. The eldest, Morpheus hight. He shows of man the shape or sight. The second, I slaw, whose behests to show the form of birds and beasts. Phantasaur, for the third, things lifeless he. Choose which liketh thee, choose which like thee of these 3.
Morpheus, if he in human shape appear.
Morpheus, come forth in perfect likeness here. How call ye the gentlewoman?
Eurymine.
Of Eurymine, and show this gentleman what of his mistress is become.
Dear Ascanio, in this vision see Eurymine doth thus appear to thee. As soon as sleep hath left thy drowsy eyes, follow the path that on thy right hand lies. An aged hermit thou by chance shalt find, that there hath been time almost out of mind. This holy man, this aged reverent father, there in the woods doth roots and simples gather. His wrinkled brow tells strengths past long ago, his beard as white as winter's driven snow. He shall discourse the troubles I have passed, and brings us both together at the last. Thus she presents her shadow to thy sight, that would her person gladly if she might.
See how he catches to embrace the shade.
This vision fully doth his powers invade, and when the heat shall but a little slake, thou then shalt see him presently awake.
Dost thou aught else that I may stand instead?
No, Somnus, no. Go back unto thy bed. Juno, she shall reward thee for thy pain.
Then good night, Iris. I'll to rest again.
Morpheus, farewell. To Juno I will fly.
And I to sleep as fast as I can hie.
Eurymine! Oh, my good angel. Stay! Oh, vanish not so suddenly away. Oh, stay, my goddess, whither dost thou fly? Return, my sweet Eurymine, 'tis I! Where art thou? Speak, let me behold thy face. Did I not see thee in this very place, even now? Here, did I not see thee stand, and here thy feet did bless the happy land? Eurymine! Oh, wilt thou not attend? Fly from thy foe, Ascanio is thy friend. The fearful hare so shuns the labouring hound, and so the deer eschews the huntsman's wound. The trembling fowl so flies the falcon's gripe, the bondman so his angry master's stripe. I follow not, as Phoebus Daphne did, nor as the dog pursues the trembling kid. Thy shape it was. Alas, I saw not thee. That sight were fitter for the gods than me. But if in dreams there any truth be found, thou art within the compass of this ground. I'll range the woods and all the groves about, and never rest until I find thee out.
Turly-tailo, turly-tailo, turly-teely-turlo. So merrily this shepherd's boy his horn that he can blow. Early in a morning, late in an evening, and ever sat this little boy so merrily piping.
Can you blow the little horn? We all, and very we all. And can you blow the little horn amongst the leaves green?
Fortune, my foe, why dost thou frown on me? And will my fortune never better be? Wilt thou, I say, forever breed my pain? And wilt thou not restore my joys again?
Cannot a man be merry in his own walk, but he must be thus encumbered?
I'm disposed to be melancholy, and I cannot be private for one villain or other.
How the devil stumbled this case of rope rights into my way?
Sirrah, what art thou? And thou?
I am page to a courtier.
And I a boy to a shepherd.
Thou art the apple squire to an ewe, and thou sworn brother to a bale of false dice.
Oh, what art thou?
I am a boy to a ranger.
An outlaw by authority, one that never sets mark of his own goods, nor never knows how he comes by other men's.
That never knows his kettle but by their horns.
Sirrah, so you might have said of your master's sheep.
Aye, marry, this takes fire like touch powder and goes off with a hoof.
They come of crick-cracks and shake their tails like a squib.
You rogues, the very steel of my wit shall strike fire from the flint of your understandings. Have you not heard of me?
Yes, if you be that Joculo that I take you for. We have heard of your exploits for cozening of some 37 alewives in the villages hereabout.
A wit as nimble as a sempster's needle or a girl's finger at a busk point.
Your jest goes too low, sir.
Oh, but 'tis a tickling jest.
Who'd have thought to have found this in a plain villain that never wore better garment than a green jerkin?
Oh, sir, though you courtiers have all the honour, you have not all the wit.
Oh, soft, sir, 'tis not your wit can carry it away in this company.
Sweet rogues, your company to me is like music to a wench at midnight when she lies alone and could wish, yea, marry could she.
Thou art as welcome to me as a new poking stick to a chambermaid.
Soft! Who comes here?
By the moon we sport and play, with the night begins our day. As we dance the dew doth fall, trip it little urchins all, lightly as the little bee, 2 by 2 and 3 by 3, and about go we, and about go we.
What mammoths are these?
Oh, they be the fairies that haunt these woods.
Oh, we shall be pinched most cruelly.
Will you have any music, sir?
Will you have any fine music?
Most dainty music?
We must set a face on it now. There is no flying. No, sir. We are very merry. I thank you.
Oh, but you shall, sir.
No, I pray you, save your labour.
Oh, sir, it shall not cost you a penny.
Where be your fiddles?
You shall have most dainty instruments, sir.
I pray you. What might I call you?
My name is Penny.
I am sorry. I cannot purse you.
I pray you, sir, what might I call you?
My name is Cricket.
I would I were a chimney for your sake.
I pray you, you pretty little fellow, what's your name?
My name is Little, Little Prick.
Little prick. Oh, you are a dangerous fairy and fright all the little wenches in the country out of their beds. I care not whose hand I were in, so I were out of yours.
I do come about the copse, leaping up on flowers' tops. Then I get upon a fly, she carries me above the sky, and trip and go, and a dewdrop falleth down and light upon my crown. Then I shake my head and skip, and about I trip. When I feel a girl asleep, underneath her frock I peep. There to sport and there I play, then I bite her like a flay, and about I skip.
I thought where I should have you.
Will, please you dance, sir?
Indeed, sir, I cannot handle my legs.
Oh, you must needs dance and sing, which if you refuse to do, we will pinch you black and blue, and about we go. Round about in a fine ring, thus we dance, and thus we sing, trip and go to and fro, trip and go to and fro over this green, all about in and out, for our brave queen. Round about in a fine ring, thus we dance, and thus we sing, trip and go to and fro, trip and go to and fro over this green, all about in and out, all about in and out for our brave queen. We have danced round about in a fine ring, we have danced lustily, and thus we sing, all about in and out over this green, to and fro, trip and go, to and fro, trip and go, to and fro, trip and go, to our brave queen.
No, great Phoebus. This your silence tends to hide your grief from knowledge of your friends. Who, if they knew the cause in each respect, would show their utmost skill to cure the effects?
Ladies, your conceits and judgment err. Because you see me dumpish, you refer the reason to some secret grief of mine. But you have seen me melancholy many a time. Perhaps it is the glowing weather now that makes me seem so ill at ease to you.
Find shifts to color that you cannot hide. No, Phoebus, by your look may be described some heat conceit that harbors in your thoughts, which have therein some strange impression wrought. Thy by the course thereof you seem to me another man than you were wont to be.
No, ladies, you deceive yourselves and me. What likelihood or token do you see that may persuade a true that you suppose?
Apollo, hence a great suspicion grows. You are not so pleasant now as erst in company. We walk alone and wander solitary. The pleasant toys we did frequent sometimes are worn away and grown out of prime. Your instrument hath lost his silver sound, that rang of late through all the grovy ground. Your bow, wherewith the chase you did frequent, is closed in case, and long hath been unbent. How differ you from that Apollo now that whilom sat in shade of laurel bough, and with the warbling of your ivory lute to allure the fairies for the dance about? Or from Apollo, that with bended bow did many a sharp and wounding shaft bestow amidst the dragon python's scaly wings, and forced his dying blood to spout in springs? Believe me, Phoebus, who saw you then and now, would think there were a wondrous change in you.
Alas, fair dames, to make my sorrows plain would but revive an ancient wound again, which grating presently upon my mind doth leave a scar of former woes behind.
Phoebus, if you account us for the same that tender thee and love Apollo's name, pour forth to us the fountain of your woe, from whence the spring of these your sorrows flow. If we may any way redress your moan, command our best. Harm will we do you none.
Good ladies, though I hope for no relief, I'll show the ground of this my present grief. This time of year, or thereabout it was, accursed be the time, 10 times alas, when I from Delphos took my journey down to see the games in noble Sparta town. There I saw that, wherein I gan to joy, Amilcar's son, a gallant comely boy, Hyacinth, full 15 years of age, whom I intended to have made my page, and bear as a great affection to the boy as ever Jove and Ganymede did joy. Among the games, myself put in a pledge to try my strength in throwing of the sledge, which, poising with my strained arm, I threw so far that it beyond the other flew. My Hyacinth, delighting in the game, desired to put his manhood in the same, and catching ere the sledge lay still on ground, with violent force, aloft it did rebound against his head, and battered out his brain. And so, alas, my lovely boy was slain.
Unhappy Phoebus, but since its fate's past and done, we wish you to forbear this frustrated moan.
Ladies, I know my sorrows are in vain, and yet from mourning can I not refrain.
Ariane, some pleasing song shall sing to put ye from your dumps.
Alas, no song will bring the least relief to my perplexed mind.
No, Phoebus? What other pastime shall we find to make ye merry with?
Fair dames, I thank you all. No sport nor pastime can release my thrall. My griefs, of course, when it the course hath had, I shall be merry and no longer sad.
What will ye then we do?
And please ye, you may go, and leave me here to feed upon my woe.
Then, Phoebus, we can but wish ye well again.
I thank ye, gentle ladies, for your pain. Phoebus, wretched thou thus art, thou fain with forged excuses to conceal thy pain. Oh, Hyacinth, I suffer not these fits for thee, my boy. No, no. Another sits deeper than thou in closet of my breast, whose sight so late hath wrought me this unrest. And yet, no goddess, nor of heavenly kind she is, whose beauty thus torments my mind. No fairy nymph that haunts these pleasant woods, no goddess of the flower, the fields, nor floods, yet such a one, whom justly I may call a nymph, as well as any of them all. Eurymine. Well, heaven affords thee here. So may I say, because thou comes so near, and nearer far unto a heavenly shape than she of whom Jove triumphed in the rape. I'll sit me down and wake my grief again to sing a while in honor of thy name. Amidst the mountain Ida groves, where Paris kept his herd, before the other ladies all, he would have thee preferred. Pallas for all her painting then, her face would seem but pale. Then Juno would have blushed for shame, and Venus looked stale. Eurymine, thyself alone, shouldst bear the golden ball. So far would thy most heavenly form excel the other all. Oh, happy Phoebus, happy then, most happy should I be, if fair Eurymine would please to join in love with me.
Although there be such difference in the change, to live in court and desert woods to range, yet in extremes wherein we cannot choose, an extreme refuge is not to refuse. Good gentlemen, did any see my herd? I shall not find them out, I am afeard, and yet my master waiteth with his bow within a standing for to strike the doe. You saw them not? Your silence makes me doubt. I must go further till I find them out.
What? What seek you, pretty maid?
Forsooth, my herd of deer.
I saw them lately, but they are not here.
I pray, sir, where?
An hour ago or twain, I saw them feeding all above the plain.
So much the more my toil to fetch them in. I thank ye, sir.
Nay, stay, sweet nymph, with me.
My business cannot so dispatched be.
But pray ye, maid, it will be very good to take a shade in this unhaunted wood. This flowering bay with branches large and great will shroud you safely from the parching heat.
Good sir, my business calls me hence in haste.
Oh, stay with him, whom conquered thou hast, with him whose restless thoughts do beat on thee, with him that joys thy wished face to see, with him whose joys surmount all joys above, if thou wouldst think him worthy of thy love.
Why, sir, would you desire another make and wear that garland for your mistress' sake?
No, nymph. Although I love this laurel tree, my fancy 10 times more effective thee. And as thy bay is always fresh and green, so shall my love as fresh to thee be seen.
Now truly, sir, you offer me great wrong to hold me from my business here so long.
Oh, stay, sweet nymph. With more advisement view what one he is that for thy grace doth sue. I am not one that haunts on hills or rocks. I am no shepherd waiting on my flocks. I'm no boisterous satyr, nor fawn, that am with pleasure of thy beauty drawn. Thou dost not know, God, what, or dost thou know the wight whose presence thou disdainest so?
But I may know, if you would please to tell.
My father in the highest heavens doth dwell, and I am known the son of Jove to be, wherein all the folk of Delphos honor me. By me is known what is, what was, and what shall be. By me are learned the rules of harmony. By me the depth of physics law is found, and powers of herbs that grow upon the ground. And thus by circumstances mayest thou see that I am Phoebus, who doth fancy thee.
No, sir, by these discourses may I see you mock me with a forged pedigree. If son you be to Jove, as erst ye said, in making love unto a mortal maid you would dishonor to your deity. I must be gone. I thank ye for your courtesy.
Alas, abandon not thy lover so.
I pray, sir, heartily give me leave to go.
The way overgrown with shrubs and bushes thick, the sharpened thorns your tender feet will prick. The brambles round about your train will lap, the burrs and briars about your skirts will wrap.
If Phoebus, thou of Jove the offspring be, dishonor not thy deity so much with proffered force a silly maid to touch. For doing so, although a god thou be, the earth and men of earth shall wring thy infamy.
Hard speech to him that loveth thee so well.
What know I that?
I know it, and can tell it, and feel it too.
If that your love be such as you pretend, so fervent and so much, for proof thereof grant me but one request.
I will. By Jove, my father, I protest, provided first that thy petition be not hurtful to thyself, nor harm to me. For sometimes did Phaeton, my son, request a thing whereby he was undone. He lost his life, though craving it, and either granting it, lost him, my son, thereby.
Then, Phoebus, thus it is. If thou be he that art pretended in thy pedigree, if son thou be to Jove, as thou dost feign, and challengest that title not in vain, now here bewray some sign of godhood then, and change me straight from shape from maid to man.
Alas, what fond desire doth move thy mind to wish thee altered from thy native kind? If thou in this thy woman's form canst move not men, but gods to sue and seek thy love, content thyself with nature's beauty then, and covet not to bear the shape of man. And this moreover will I say to thee, fairer man than maid thou shalt never be.
These vain excuses manifestly show whether you usurp Apollo's name or no. Sith my demand so far surmounts your art, ye join exceptions on the other part.
Nay then, that my doubtless deity to prove, although thereby forever I lose my love, I grant thy wish. Thou art become a man. I speak no more, then well perform I can. And thou, though walk in changed body now, this penance shall be added to thy vow. Thyself a man shalt love a man in vain, and loving wish to be a maid again.
Apollo, whether I love a man or not, I thank ye. Now I will accept my lot. And sith my change hath disappointed you, ye are at liberty to love anew.
If ever I love, sith now I am forsaken, where next I love, it shall be better taken. But whatsoever my fate in loving be, yet thou mayest vaunt that Phoebus loveth thee.
Joculo, whither jettest thou? Hast thou find thy master?
Mopsa, well met, hast thou found thy mistress?
Not I, by Pan.
Nor I, by Pot.
Pot? What god's that?
The next god to a Pan, and such a Pot it may be, as he shall have more servants than all the pans in a tinker's shop.
Frisco, where hast thou been frisking? Hast thou found thy...
I have found...
What hast thou found, Frisco?
A couple of crack ropes.
And I.
And I.
I mean you two.
Aye, you two.
And I, you two.
Come, a treble conjunction. All three, all three.
Oh, but Frisco, hast not found the fair shepherdess, thy master's mistress?
Not I, by God, Priapus, I mean.
Priapus, quoth, what god might that be?
A plain god with a good peg to hang a shepherdess's bottle upon.
Thou, being a forester's boy, shouldst swear by the god of the woods.
My master swears by Silvanus. I must swear by his poor neighbour.
And here's a shepherd swain swears by a kitchen god, Pan.
Pan's the shepherd's god, but thou swearest by Pot. What god's that?
It's the god of good fellowship. Well, ye have wicked masters that teach such little boys as you are to swear so young.
Alas, good old great man, will not your master swear?
I never heard him swear 6 sound oaths in all my life.
Mayhap he cannot, because he's diseased.
Peace, Mopso. I will stand to it. He's neither brave courtier, bouncing cavalier, nor boon companion if he swear not sometime. For they will swear, forswear, and swear.
How? Swear, forswear, and swear, how is that?
They will swear at dice, forswear their debts, and swear when they lose their labour in love.
Well, your masters have much to answer for that bring ye up so wickedly.
Nay, my master is damned, I'll be sworn, for his very soul burns in the fiery eye of her mistress.
My master is not damned, but he is dead, for he hath buried his joys in the bosom of his fair mistress.
My master's neither damned nor dead, and yet is in the case of both your masters, like a wooden shepherd and a sheepish woodman, for he is lost in seeking of a lost sheep, and spent in hunting a doe that he would fain strike.
Faith, and I am foundered with flinging to and fro, with chestnuts, hazelnuts, bullas, and wildings for presents from my master to the fair shepherdess.
And I am tired like a calf with carrying a kid every week to the cottage of my mister's sweet lambkin.
I'm not tired, but so weary I cannot go with following a master that follows his mistress, that follows her shadow, that follows the sun, that follows his cause, that
follows the colt, that followed the mare the man rode on it to Middleton. Shall I speak a wise word?
Do, and we will burn our caps.
Are not we fools?
Is that a wise word?
Give me leave. Are not we fools to wear our young feet to old stumps, when there dwells a cunning man in a cave hereby, who, for a bunch of roots, a bag of nuts, or a bushel of crabs, will tell us where thou shalt find thy master, and which of our masters shall win the wench's favour.
Bring me to him, Frisco. I'll give him all the points at my hose to point me right to my master.
A bottle of whey shall be his meed, if he save me labour for posting with presents.
Here he comes. Offend him not, Joculo, for fear he turn thee to a jackanapes.
And thee to an owl.
And thee to a woodcock.
A grootcock, an owl, and an ape.
A long bill, a broad face, and no tail.
Kiss it, Mopso, and be quiet. I'll salute him civilly. Good speed, good man.
Welcome, bad boy.
He speaks to thee, Joculo.
Meaning thee, Frisco.
I speak and mean not him, nor thee, but speaking so, I speak and mean all three.
If you be good at rhymes and riddles, old man, expound me this. These two serve two, those two serve one. Assoil me this and I'm gone.
You three serve three, those three do seek to one. One shall her find. He comes and she is gone.
Oh, this is a wise answer. Her going caused his coming, for if she had never gone, he had never come.
Good master wizard, leave these Merly Muse, and tell Mopso plainly whether Gemulo, my master, that gentle shepherd, shall win the love of the fair shepherdess, his flock keeper, or not. And I'll give ye a bottle of as good whey as ever ye laid lips to.
And, good father fortune teller, let Frisco know whether Silvio, my master, that lusty forester, shall gain that same gay shepherdess or no. I'll promise you nothing for your pain, but a bag full of nuts, and I bring a crab or two in my pocket. Take them for advantage.
And gentle master wise man, tell Joculo if his noble master Ascanio, that gallant courtier, shall be found by me, and she found by him, for whom he hath lost his father's favour and his own liberty, and I my labour. And I'll give ye thanks, for we courtiers neither give nor take bribes.
I take your meaning better than your speech, and I will grant the thing you do beseech. But for the tears of lovers be no toys, I'll tell their chants in parables to boys.
In what you will. Let's hear our master's luck.
Thy master's doe shall turn into a buck. Thy master's ewe be changed into a ram. Thy master seeks a maid and finds a man. Yet for his labour shall he gain his meed. The other two shall sigh to see him speed.
Then my master shall not win the shepherdess.
No, haste thee home and bid him right his wrong. The shepherdess will leave his flock ere long.
I'll run to warn my master of that.
My master, good man, takes by good and pains to no purpose, I think. What say you? Shall he speed?
No, tell him so, and bid him tend his deer, and cease to woe. He shall not wed this year.
I'm not sorry for it. Farewell, Joculo.
I may go with thee, for I shall speed even so too by staying behind.
Better, my boy, that thou shalt thy master find, and he shall find the party he requires, and yet not find the sum of his desires. Keep on that way, thy master walks before, whom, when thou findest us, lose him, good boy, no more.
Shall then my travel ever endless prove, that I can hear no tidings of my love in either desert grove, nor shady wood, nor obscure thicket where my foot have trod, but every ploughman and rude shepherd's swain doth still reply unto my greater pain. Some satyr then, or goddess of this place, some water nymph vouchsafe me so much grace as by some view, some sign or other show, I may have knowledge, if she live or no.
No.
Then my poor heart is buried too in woe. Record it once more, if the truth be so.
So?
How? That Eurymine is dead? Or lives?
Lives?
Now, gentle goddess, thou redeemest my soul from death to life. Oh, tell me quickly where?
Where?
In some remote far region? Or else near?
Near.
Oh, what conceals her from my thirsty eyes? Is it restraint? Or some unknown disguise?
Disguise.
Let me be hanged, my lord, but all is lies.
Lies.
True, we are both persuaded thou dost lie.
Thou dost lie.
Oh, I?
Who, I?
I, thou.
I, thou.
Thou durst not come and say so to my face.
Thy face.
I'll make you then forever prating more.
More.
Will you prate more? I'll see that presently.
Stay, Joculo, it is the echo boy that mocks our grief and laughs at our annoy. Hard by this grove there is a goodly plain, betwixt two hills still fresh with drops of rain, where never spreading oak nor poplar grew, might hinder the prospect or other view, but all the country that about it lies presents itself unto our mortal eyes, save that upon each hill by leafy trees the sun at highest his scorching heat may leese. There, languishing him myself, I will betake, as heaven shall please, and only for her sake.
Stay, master, I have spied the fellow now that mocked us all this while. See where he sits.
The very shape my vision told me of that I should meet with as I strayed this way.
What lines he draws! Best go not over far.
Let me alone. Thou dost but trouble me.
You'll trouble us all, anon you shall see.
Godspeed, fair sir.
My lord, do ye not mark how the sky thickens and begins to dark?
Health to ye, sir.
Nay then, God be our speed.
Oh, forgive me, sir. I saw ye not indeed.
Oh, pardon me, rather, for molesting you.
Such another face I never knew.
Thus studious I am wont to pass the time, by true proportion of each line from line.
Oh, now I see, he was learning to spell. There's ABC in midst of his table.
Tell me, I pray you, sir, may I be bold to crave the cause of your abode within this cave?
To tell you that, in this extreme distress, were but a tale of fortune's fickleness. Sometime I was a prince of Lesbos Isle, and lived beloved while my good stars did smile, but clouded once with this world's bitter cross, my joy to grief, my gain converts to loss.
Forward, I pray ye, think not in your tale.
It'll not be all be worth a cup of ale.
A short discourse of that which is too long, however pleasing, can never seem but wrong. Yet would my tragic story fit the stage, pleasant in youth, but wretched in mine age, blind fortune setting up and pulling down, abused by those myself raised to renown. But that which rings me near and wounds my heart is a false brother's base, unthankful part.
A small offence compared with my disease. No doubt ingratitude in time may cease and be forgot. My grief outlives all hours, raining on my head continual hapless showers.
You sing of yours, and I of mine relate. To everyone seems worst his own estate. But to proceed, exiled thus by spite, both country I forgo and brother's sight, and coming hither where I thought to live, yet here I cannot but lament and grieve.
Some comfort yet in this there doth remain, that you have found a partner in your pain.
How are your sorrows, subject? Let me hear.
more overthrown and deeper in despair than is the manner of your heavy smart. My cureless grief doth rankle at my heart, and, in a word, to hear the sum of all, I love and am beloved, but therewithal the sweetness of that banquet must forego, whose pleasant taste is changed with bitter woe.
A conflict but to try your noble mind, as common unto youth, as rain to wind.
But hence it is that doth me treble wrong, the expected good that is forborne so long, doth lose the virtue which the use would prove.
Are you then, sir, despised of your love?
No, but deprived of her company. And for my careless negligence therein am bound to do this penance for my sin, that if I never find where she remains, I vow a year shall be my end of pains.
Was she then lost within this forest here?
Oh, lost or forlorn, to me she was right dear, and this is certain, unto him that could the place where she abides to me unfold. For ever I would vow myself his friend, never revolting till my life did end, and therefore, sir, as well I know your skill, if you will give me physic for this ill, and show me if Eurymine do live, it were a recompense for all my pain, and I should think my joys were full again.
They know the want of health that have been sick, myself sometimes acquainted with the like, do learn in duty of a kind regard to pity him, whose hap hath been so hard. How long, I pray ye, has she absent been?
3 days it is since that my love was seen.
Here's learning for the nonce that stands on joints, for all his cunning I'll scarce give 2 points.
Mercurio regnat virum subsequenti luna faeminam designat.
Aye, and you go to Latin then to show my master shall find her if he could tell when.
I cannot tell what reason it should be, but love and reason here do disagree. By proof of learned principles I find the manner of your loves against all kind, and not to feed ye with uncertain joy, whom you affect so much, is but a boy.
A riddle for my life, some antic jest. Did I not tell you what his cunning was?
I love a boy.
Mine art doth tell me so.
Had not a fresh increase unto my woe.
I dare avouch what lately I have said. The love that troubles you is for no maid.
As well I might be said to touch the sky, or dark the horizon with tapestry, or walk upon the waters of the sea, as to be haunted with such lunacy.
If it be false, mine art I will defy.
Amazed with grief, my love is then transformed?
Master, be contented. This is leap year. Women wear breeches, petticoats are dear. And that's his meaning. On my life it is.
Oh God, and shall my torments never cease?
Repress the fury of your troubled mind. Walk here a while. Your lady you may find.
A lady and a boy, this hangs well together, like snow in harvest, sunshine and foul weather.
Hope of help my forward stars deny. Come sweetest death and end my misery. He left his country, I my shape have lost. Dear is the love that hath so dearly cost. Yet can I boast, though Phoebus were unjust, this shift did serve to bar him from his lust. Yeah, but who are these alone? I cannot choose but blush for shame that anyone should see Eurymine in this disguise to be.
It is not, my love, Eurymine.
Hark, someone hallows. Gentlemen, adieu. In this attire I dare not stay their view.
My love, my joy, my life! By eye, by face, by tongue, it should be she. Aye, it was my love. I'll after her, and though she pass, the eagle in her flight, I'll never rest till I have gained her sight.
Love carries him, and so retains his mind, that he forgets how I am left behind. Yet will I follow softly as I can, in hope to see the fortune of the man.
But nay, let them go a God's name one by one. With all my heart, with my whole heart, I am glad to be alone. He is all transforming. Would with all his art he could transform this tree into a tart. See then if I would flinch from hence or no. But for it is not so, I needs must go.
Is it a bargain, Gemulo, or not?
Thou never knewst me break my word, I wot, nor will I now, beside me bale or bliss.
Nor I break mine. And here her cottage is. I'll call her forth.
Oh, will Silvio be so rude?
Never shall we betwixt ourselves conclude our controversy, for we overween.
Not I, but thou, for though thou jest in green, as fresh as meadow in a morn of May, and scorn'st the shepherd, for he goes in grey, but, Forester, believe it as thy creed, my mistress minds my person, not my weed.
So 'twas, I thought, because she tends thy sheep, thou think'st in love of thee she taketh keep. That is, as townish damsels lend the hand, but send the heart to him aloof doth stand. So deals Eurymine with Silvio.
Alas, so be she look more blithe on Gemulo. Her heart is in the dial of her eye that points me hers.
That shall we quickly try. Eurymine!
Really stop thy throat, and to thy hounds that hallow such a note. I thought that shepherds had been mannerless, but woodsmen are the ruder grooms, I guess.
How should I call her, swain, but by her name?
So Hobbinol the ploughman calls his dame. Call her in carol from her quiet coat.
Agreed. But whether shall begin his note?
Draw cuts.
Content. The longest shall begin.
Mm-hmm. 'Tis mine.
Sing loud, for she is far within.
Instruct thy singing in thy forest ways. Shepherds know how to chant their roundelays.
Repeat our bargain ere we sing our song, lest after wrangling should our mistress wrong. If me she choose, thou must be well content. If thee she choose, I give thee like consent.
'Tis done. Now, pan pipe on thy sweetest reed, and as I love, so let thy servant speed. As little lambs lift up their snowy sides, when mounting lark salutes the grey-eyed morn, as from the oaken leaves the honey glides, when nightingales record upon the thorn, so rise my thoughts,
so all my senses clear,
when she surveys my flocks,
and she, my dear,
Eurymine, come forth,
come forth,
come forth and cheer these plains. As little lambs lift up their snowy sides, when mounting lark salutes the grey-eyed morn, as from the oaken leaves the honey glides, when nightingale record upon the thorn, so rise my thoughts, so all my senses clear, when she surveys my flocks, and she, my dear, Eurymine, come forth, and share these plains.
The woodman's love,
and lady of the swain.
Fair forester and lovely shepherd swain, your carols call Eurymine in vain. For she is gone. Her cottage and her sheep with me, her brother hath she left to keep, and made me swear by Pan ere she did go to see them safely kept for Gemulo.
What? Hath my love a new come lover then?
What? Hath my mistress got another man?
This swain will rob me of Eurymine.
This youth hath power to win Eurymine.
This stranger's beauty bears away my prize.
This stranger will bewitch her with his eyes.
Adonis!
It is Ganymede.
My blood is chill.
My heart is cold as lead.
Fair youths, you have forgot for what ye came. You seek your love. She's gone.
The more to blame.
Not so. My sister had no will to go, but that our parents' dread command was so.
Aye, it's thy excuse. Thou art not of her kin, but as my rival comest my love to win.
By great Apollo's sacred deity, that shepherdess so near is Sib to me. As I name May, for all this world her wed. For she and I in one self womb were bred, but she's gone. Her flock is left to me.
The sheepcote's mine, and I will in and see.
And I.
Go both. Cold comfort shall you find. My manly shape hath yet a woman's mind, prone to reveal what secret she doth know. God pardon me, I was about to show my transformation. Peace, they come again.
Have you found her?
No, we look in vain.
I told you so.
Yet hear me, new-come swain, albeit thy seemly feature set no sail but honest truth upon thy novel tale, yet, for this world is full of subtlety, we wish thee go with us for company unto a wise man woning in this wood, hight Aramathus, whose wit and skill is good, that he may certify our amazing doubt how this strange chance and change hath fallen out.
I am content. Have with ye when ye will.
Even now.
He'll make ye muse if ye have any skill.
Eurymine, I pray, if thou be she, refrain thy haste, and do not fly from me. The time hath been my words thou wouldst allow, and am I grown so loathsome to thee now?
Ascanio, time hath been, I must confess, when in thy presence was my happiness. But now the manner of my misery hath changed that course, that so it cannot be.
What wrong have I contrived, what injury, to alienate thy liking so from me? If thou be she whom sometime thou didst feign, and bearest not the name of friend in vain, let not thy borrowed guise of altered kind alter the wonted liking of thy mind. But though in habit of a man thou goest, yet be the same Eurynome thou wast.
How gladly would I be thy lady still, if earnest vows might answer to my will.
And is thy fancy altered with thy guise?
My kind, but not my mind in any wise.
What though thy habit differ from thy kind, thou mayst retain thy wonted loving mind?
So I do.
Then why art thou so strange? Or wherefore doth thy plighted fancy change?
Ascanio, my heart doth honour thee.
And yet continuest still so strange to me.
Not strange, so far as kind will give me leave.
Unkind that kindness doth bereave. Thou sayest thou lovest me.
As a friend his friend, and so I vow to love thee to the end.
I reck not of such love. Love me but so as fair Eurymine loved Ascanio.
That love's denied unto my present kind.
In kindly shows unkind I do thee find. I see thou art as constant as the wind.
Doth kind allow a man to love a man?
Why? Art not thou Eurymine?
I am.
Eurymine, my love.
The very same.
And wast not thou a woman then?
Most true.
And art thou changed from a woman now?
Too true.
These tales my mind perplex. Thou art Eurymine.
In name, but not in sex.
What then?
A man.
In guise thou art, I see.
The guise thou seest doth with my kind agree.
Before thy flight, Thou wast a woman, though,
True, Ascanio.
and since art thou a man,
Too true, dear friend.
then have I lost a wife?
But found a friend, whose dearest blood and life shall be as ready as thine own for thee. In place of wife, such friend thou hast of me.
There they are, master well overtaken. I thought we two should never meet again. You went so fast that I, to follow you, slipped over edge and ditch and many a tall tree.
Well said, my boy. Thou knowest not how to lie.
To lie, how say you, was it not so? You were at my heels, though far off, ye know. For master not to counterfeit with you now. He's as good a footman as a shackled sow.
Good sir, you're welcome. Sirrah, hold your prate.
What speed in that I told to you of late?
Both good and bad, as doth the sequel prove, for wretched I have found and lost my love, that if that be lost, which I can never enjoy.
Faith, mistress, you're to blame to be so coy. The day hath been, but what is that to me, when more familiar with a man you'd be?
I told you should find a man of her, or else my rule would very strangely err.
Father, the trial of your skill I find, my love's transformed into another kind, and so I find, and yet have lost my love.
You cannot tell. Take her aside and prove.
But, sweet Eurymine, make some report why thou departest from my father's court, and how this strange mishap to thee befell. Let me entreat thou wouldst the process tell.
Oh, how I arrived in this ground were but renewing of an ancient wound. Another time that office I'll fulfill. Let it suffice, I came against my will. And wandering here about this forest side, it was my chance of Phoebus to be spied, whose love, because I chastely did withstand, he thought to offer me a violent hand. But for a present shift to shun his rape, I wished myself transformed into this shape, which he performed, God knows, against his will, and I since then have wailed my fortune still. Not for misliking aught I find in me, but for thy sake, whose wife I meant to be.
Thus have you heard our woeful destiny, which I in heart lament, and so doth she.
The fittest remedy that I can find is this: to ease the torment of your mind, persuade yourselves that great Apollo can as easily make a woman of a man as contrariwise he made a man of her.
I think no less.
Then humble suit prefer to him. Perhaps your prayers may attain to have her turned into her form again.
But Phoebus such disdain to me doth bear, as hardly we shall win his grant, I fear.
Then in these verdant fields all richly dyed, with nature's gifts and Flora's painted pride, there is a godly spring, whose crystal streams, beset with myrtles, keep back Phoebus' beams. There, in rich seats all wrought of ivory, the graces sit listening the melody. The warbling birds do from their pretty bills unite in concord, as the brook distills, whose gentle murmur with his buzzing notes is as a bass unto their hollow throats. Garlands besides they wear upon their brows, made of all sorts of flowers earth allows, from whence such fragrant sweet perfumes arise, as you would swear that place is paradise. To them let us repair with humble heart, and meekly show the manner of your smart. So gracious are they in Apollo's eyes, as their entreaty quickly may suffice. In your behalf I'll tell them of your states, and crave their aids to stand your advocates.
For ever you shall bind us to you then.
Come, go with me, I'll do the best I can.
Is not this hard luck to wander so long, and in the end to find his wife's marked wrong?
A proper jest, as ever I heard tell. In sooth, methink the breach becomes her well. And might it not make their husbands fear them? Would all the wives in our town might wear them? Tell me, youth, art a stranger here, or no?
Is your commission, sir, to examine me so?
What? Is it thou? Now, by my troth, well met.
By your leave, it's well overtaken yet.
I little thought I should have found thee here.
Perhaps so, sir.
I prithee speak, what cheer?
What cheer can here be hoped for in these woods, except trees, stones, briars, bushes, or buds?
My meaning is, I fain would hear thee say how thou doest, man. Why thou takest this another way?
Why then, sir, I do as well as I may, and persuade ye that welcome ye be, will't please you, sir, to eat a crab with me.
Believe me, Joculo, reasonable hard cheer.
Philander, 'tis the best we can get here. But when return ye to the court again?
Shortly, now I have found thee.
To requite your pain, shall I entreat you bear a present from me?
To whom?
To the Duke.
What shall it be?
Because venison so convenient doth not fall, a peck of acorns to make merry withal.
What meanst thou by that?
By my troth, sir, as ye see, acorns are good enough for such as he. I wish his honour well, and to do him good, would he had eaten all the acorns in the wood.
Good words, Joculo, of your lord and mine.
As may agree with such a churlish swine. How does it honour?
Indifferently well.
I wish him better.
How?
Vicegerent in hell.
Dost thou wish so, for aught that he hath done?
Aye, for the love he bears unto his son.
He's grown of late as fatherly and mild as ever father was unto his child, and sent me forth to search the coast about, if so my hap might be to find him out, and, if Eurymine alive remain, to bring them both unto the court again. Where is thy master?
Walking about the ground.
Oh, that his love Eurymine were found.
Why, so she is. Come, follow me and see. I'll bring ye straight where they remaining be.
Cease your contention for Eurymine, nor words nor vows can help her misery. But he it is that did her first transform, must calm the rigour of this storm. Great Phoebus, whose palace we are near, salute him then in this celestial sphere, that with the notes of cheerful harmony he may be moved to show his deity.
But where's Eurymine? Have we lost her sight?
Oh, poor soul, within a cave with fear affright, she sits to shun Apollo's angry view, until she see what of our prayers ensue, if we can reconcile his love or no, or that she must continue in her woe.
Once have we tried, Ascanio, for thy sake, and once again we will his power awake. Not doubting, but as he is of heavenly race, at length he will take pity on her case. Sing, therefore, and each party from his heart, in this our music, bear a cheerful part. All hail, fair Phoebus, in thy purple throne, vouchsafe the regarding of our deep moan. Hide not, oh hide not thy comfortable face, but pity a virgin's poor case. Illustrate beauty, crystal heaven's eye, once more we do entreat thy clemency, that as thou art the power of us all, thou wouldst redeem Eurymine from thrall. Grant, gentle God, grant this our small request, and if ability in us do rest, whereby we ever may deserve the same, it shall be seen we reverence Phoebus' name.
You say, good sisters, the fair Helicon, on whom my favours evermore have shone, in this you must have patience with my vow. I cannot grant what you aspire unto, nor was it my fault she was transformed so, by her own fond desire, as ye well know. We told her to, before her vow was past, that cold repentance would ensue at last, and Sith herself did wish the shape of man. She calls it abuse, digest it how she can.
Alas, if unto her you be so hard, yet of Ascanio have some more regard, and let him not endure such endless wrong that hath pursued her constant love so long.
Great God, The grievous travels I have passed, in restless search to find her out at last, my plaints, my toils, in lieu of my annoy, have well deserved my lady to enjoy. But penance, too much I have sustained before. O Phoebus, plague me not with any more, nor be thou so extreme now at the worst to make my torments greater than at the first. My father's late displeasure is forgot, and there's no let, nor any churlish blot to interrupt our joys from being complete, but only thy good favour to entreat. In thy great grace it lies to make my state most happy now, or most unfortunate.
Heavenly Apollo, on our knees I pray, vouchsafe thy great displeasure to allay. What honour to thy godhead will arise, to plague a silly lady in this wise? Besides, it is a stain unto thy deity to yield thine own desires the sovereignty. Then show some grace unto a woeful dame, and in these groves our tongues shall sound thy fame.
Arise, dear nurses of divinest skill. You sacred muses of Parnassus hill, Phoebus is conquered by your dear respect, and will no longer clemency neglect. You have not sued nor prayed to me in vain. I grant your wills. She is a maid again.
Thy praise shall never die whilst I do live.
Nor will we slack perpetual thanks to give.
Thalia, near the cave where she remains, the fairies keep, request them of their pains, and in my name bid them forthwith provide from that dark place to be the lady's guide, and in the bounty of their liberal mind to give her clothes according to her kind.
I go, divine Apollo.
Haste again, no time too swift to ease a lover's pain.
Most sacred Phoebus, endless thanks to thee that dost vouchsafe so much to pity me. And aged father, for your kindness shown, imagine not your friendship ill bestown, that earth shall sooner vanish and decay, that I will prove unthankful anyway.
'Tis sufficient recompense to me, that if my silly help hath pleasured thee, if you enjoy your love and heart's desire, 'tis enough, no do more I did require.
Grave Aramathus, now I see thy face, I call to mind how tedious a long space thou hast frequented these sad deserts here. Thy time employed in heedful mind I bear. The patient sufferance of thy former wrong, thy poor estate and sharp exile so long, the honourable port thou borest sometime, till wronged thou wast with undeserved crime by them whom thou to honour didst advance, the memory of which thy heavy chance provokes my mind to take remorse on thee. Father, henceforth my client shalt thou be, and pass the remnant of thy fleeting time with laurel wreath amongst the Muses 9. And when thy age hath given place to fate, thou shalt exchange thy former mortal state, and after death a palm of fame shalt wear amongst the rest that live in honour here. And lastly know that fair Eurymine, redeemed now from former misery, thy daughter is, whom I for that intent did hide from thee in this thy banishment, that so she might the greater scourge can sustain in putting Phoebus to so great a pain. But freely now, enjoy each other's sight. No more Eurymine. Abandon quite that borrowed name, as Atlanta she is called, and here the woman in her right shape installed.
Is then my love derived of noble race?
No more of that, but mutually embrace.
Leaves my Atlanta, whom the rough seas wave, I thought I'd brought unto a timeless grave.
Look not so strange. It is thy father's voice, and this thy love. Atlanta, now rejoice.
As in another world of greater bliss, my daunted spirits do stand amazed at this. So great a tide of comfort overflows, as what to say my faltering tongue scarce knows. But only this, unperfect though it be, immortal thanks, great Phoebus, unto thee.
Well, lady, you're retransformed now, but I am sure you did repent your vow.
bright lamp of glory, pardon my rashness past.
My penance was your own, though I did fast.
Behold, dear love, to make your joys abound, yonder Philander comes.
Oh, sir, well found, but most especially it glads my mind to see my mistress restored to kind.
My lord and madam, to requite your pain, Telemachus hath sent for you again. All former quarrels now are trodden down, and he doth smile, that heretofore did frown.
Thanks, kind Philander, for thy friendly news, like Juno's balm that our life's blood renews.
But lady, first ere you your journey take, vouchsafe at my request one grant to make.
Most willingly.
Matter is but small. To wear a branch of laurel in your call for Phoebus' sake, least else I but be forgot, and think upon me when you see me not.
Here, while I live, a solemn oath I make, to love the laurel for Apollo's sake.
Our suit is dashed. We may depart, I see.
Hey, Gemulo and Silvio, contented be. This night, let me entreat ye, you will take such cheer as I and these poor dames can make. Tomorrow morn, we'll bring you on your way.
Your Godhead shall command us all to stay.
Then, ladies, gratulate this happy chance with some delightful tune and pleasant dance. Mean space upon his harp will Phoebus play, so both of them may boast another day and make report that when their wedding chanced, Phoebus gave music and muses danced. Since painful sorrow's date hath end, and time hath coupled friend with friend, rejoice, we all rejoice and sing. Let all these groves of Phoebus ring, hope having won, despair is vanishing. Pleasure revives and Charis banished, then trip we all this rondelay, and still be mindful of the bay, and still be mindful of the bay. Ooh.
And they all lived happily ever after.
Right. Well, thank you all very much. I think we can hand it over to Agnes and to Lynsey to lead the post-show discussion. To Lynsey Ann, or Lynsey B, either.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. It was very enjoyable. It's so it was so poignant and so funny, both. Thank you for doing this, and thank you for the music. I think that's the thing we have to pay attention to most. Yeah, well done again, everyone. Lynsey, do you want just to say something about?
Yeah, no, it just really to echo. I mean, it was really amazing actually to kind of hear this read through. We've listened to another read through previously, and this one I have to say was far superior. And really kind of brought out, I think, a lot of the humorous elements I thought kind of came out in this read through, and I thought that was really interesting to me. So yeah, thanks everyone so much. As I said kind of at the outset, just to give you a little bit of context for this. So this is a play that we've been working on for a little while now, coming at it from a very academic perspective and very much a perspective of being interested in what's going on with the kind of mythography that's being referenced throughout the play, because I mean, obviously it's got lots of kind of mythological things going on here. And both of us have backgrounds studying Ovidian reception in particular. So we were quite interested in what's going on with kind of the reception of Ovid in the play. And also we were quite interested when we realized that this is kind of the only instance of an early modern play that we know of where there's actual like a biological gender transformation that happens on the stage kind of mid-play and then is reversed at the end. So we've kind of thought it was interesting for a number of reasons. So we have a few kind of questions that we're hoping we could use, and we're hoping to maybe kind of structure a little bit of discussion, because we'd love to hear from all of you kind of thoughts and reactions on the play and the text and all sorts of kind of ideas that you might have about it. So I don't know, Agnes, do you want to kind of introduce the questions that we have?
Yeah.
Yes, sure. One of the the first question, let me just say, sorry, that you're posting things that are really interesting in the chat, and I'm not very good at looking at everything at the same time, so it would be really helpful if you send them to us after, and we haven't given you our emails, and so we will do. So please, we welcome any feedback at any time after this.
Just also a note, I can send you all the chat separately as a separate file, so you can have all of that data.
Okay, great, thanks. The other, so we had thought that maybe there would be questions about the plot, that things you may want to comment on, and picking up on some things you said in the chat. I loved Alexandra saying about the echo scene. The scene mocks itself. And also you noted I saw so many bingos coming on the side. So, and I also liked Alexandra's comment about the greatest hit collection. So a sense of déjà vu, in fact, in this play that you all strongly felt. And so do you have anything you want to say about this in terms of plot, maybe? And the unexpected, Lynn also says, the more predictable the plot, the easier it is for the audience to focus on production value. Does anyone want to like pick up on this? Maybe?
No, I'll just sort of say that in other words, that I think clearly the intention here, the plot is just the barest skeleton. The theatrical experience here is the costumes and the music and the bucolic atmosphere and you know, this the romanticization, to use a kind of anachronistic term, of the rural life, of the country life. That's what this is all about. It's sort of about mood and creating a beautiful stage picture. And there's no conflict in the plot, really. I mean, we start out with a problem, but you know, and then Eurymine gets changed into a boy. And Apollo's just like, okay, I'll change her back. You know, that's the plot really is not what this play is about. This plot is about like this beautiful aesthetic experience. It's about the aesthetic.
Alan?
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is that any time the plot starts getting too lovey-dovey, basically bring on the third form humor. You know, standard issue boys play. How many dirty gags can we get into 2 minutes?
If I may ask a follow-up question, were you guys able to follow the logic of the story? Were there parts that you found that you might have been lost in the plot?
Logic and myth structures? Surely some mistake here, Dan.
So Tia, you had your hand up there.
Yeah, the only time that I think when I read it, each time it sneaked up on me, that I feel like I might have missed something, was between 45 and 46.
Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, sorry. Both times I was reading it, I thought like, oh, they're gonna take me to see the old man, Aramathus, and then suddenly I'm with Ascanio. And I wasn't sure how suddenly Eurymine and Ascanio were together. It seemed like I didn't know how that suddenly happened. That was all.
That's really interesting. Thank you. Yeah, that might be.
Go ahead. Oh, sorry. Yes. Yeah.
Sorry. I just wanted to say, yeah, because once again we're expecting so much of what may happen, that it's interesting that you felt disappointed or slighted by the expectation of your meeting in the plot. That's interesting. Thank you, Tia.
Rob, you had your...
Yeah, is that the point between Act 4 and Act 5 where we meet up? Because it might the logic there, I think, is that there's an interval break. If it's an indoor playhouse, then they're trimming candles. So that's a dramatic. You make an exit, and then 5 minutes later we re-enter together. I think that's the logic at that moment, if that's the moment we're talking about.
Did everyone agree with? Does anybody else have any comments about the plot? Because, Lynn and Alan said, yeah, it's more of just, the plot was really just simple and there was not really any conflict. Does anybody have anything that they want to add to that or say about that? Lois, yeah, go ahead.
I was interested in the handling of Eurymine's male appearance, because the scene with Ascanio, clearly he's got no problem at all in recognizing that it's Eurymine. And yet, so it doesn't work the way male disguise generally works in drama. And he's just puzzled as to who he's talking to and why she may look like a man, but nevertheless he knows that it's a woman, or he thinks he knows that it's a woman. This seems to me different from any other play I can recall.
Yeah.
Not a disguise, really, Lois, is that what you're saying? It's not a disguise. Can you...
But yes, it seems not to be a disguise, because usually disguise works. People, except that it obviously worked on the shepherd and the huntsman. They thought this was a boy, but Ascanio takes one look at her and calls her Eurymine.
Alexandra.
Yeah, I had my hand up because in the chat I kept sniggering about this is true love, people, and in terms of other sort of unhealthy interactions. But I think it may or may not be what the author intended, but it's what you can do in a modern production. Is make it clear that transformation, which is not a disguise, it's a transformation, works on everybody but the person who actually loves her. And so there's a sort of deeper logical meaning to that, but they do. She does, when she appears as a boy, she talks about wearing men's clothes. As soon as she's been transformed back out to a woman, it's like she has to go and put on gendered clothing belonging to the other gender now, because otherwise it would be wrong. There's something both very traditional in how the play is handling the gender and the transformation, and also new and different. And I wanted to say on the video what we've already been saying in the chat, which is that there is in Galatea by John Lilly, the only other transformation that I can think of that is an actual biological transformation, but it happens just after the end of the play.
Lynsey, do you want to pick up on this?
One thing that we had been kind of thinking about in terms of the transformation, like we have Lily very much on our minds as we've been thinking about this, and I think that's in some ways kind of the obvious parallel here, and yet like there is, I think as you say, Alexandra, there is something that's kind of different, like new, perhaps, and different about the way that it's being handled here, and. Yeah, I think it's, in Galatea, it's that sort of promise of the transformation to come, and you've got, something quite different happening where, cross-dressing and pretending to be a boy is one thing, but like the sort of biological transformation that's promised at the end is something quite different. Whereas here, there's something that seems, I think, potentially quite complicated going on in terms of the sort of the male kind of attire and the way that Ascanio certainly perceives her to be kind of in male attire, but perhaps not a man. Although I've also, I'll say, kind of wondered a little bit in that interaction between the two of them, the extent to which he might actually perceive her to still be kind of her in some sense, but also a man. And I've kind of wondered a little bit if he's just kind of less bothered by the homoerotic nature of his continued attraction than she is. And, so I wonder if there are kind of ways of reading that conversation between them. I'll just kind of throw that out there.
This would be more, I think, probably more of a director actor choice thing, but I certainly felt like in the reading of it, I maybe only did it subtly through this pass, but I felt the urge to play into the boyness with the shepherds because that would serve her in that moment, to put them off, and then to ease up on that with Ascanio. For whatever that's worth.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Sarah and then Lynn.
Yeah, this is more of a performance thought than perhaps a helpful textual thought, but I found that scene between them when he just wasn't understanding, allegedly, what had changed with her. I found that really, really interesting. And from a director's perspective, if I was staging this today, I would be really tempted, if I could find two actors who looked similar enough, I'd be really tempted to cast two actors in that role and actually cast a man as Eurymine, so that, I mean, cast the character as a woman to begin with, but then after the transformation, have a man play him, so that that it would make that scene between the two lovers just very interesting. I think you could mine that dynamic between them for all sorts of stuff, which is, it's maybe not it's maybe not like in the text, in terms of it's maybe not meant to be in the text, but it could be, if depending on the choices you made as a director. I think it'd be quite interesting. I also thought there's an interesting question about her agency, Eurymine's agency, when she becomes a man, because that's something that we quite often see with male disguises, is that when a woman takes on a male disguise, she suddenly gains an awful lot more agency quite often in a play, but she doesn't in this. She actually physically transforms, and yet she didn't really, to me, seem to gain any extra agency. So that would be an interesting thing to look at as well.
Can I just ask kind of a quick follow-up question to that? Because I think that's really interesting, that kind of thinking about casting and potentially casting kind of a male and a female actor. But I'm kind of wondering, how would you link that back to the Morpheus bit? Because we've also got this kind of interesting thing happening in the Morpheus bit with, gender there.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look at the text. I'd have to pay a lot more attention, to be honest, than I did in this reading. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. To be honest, as a director, you can usually find a way. You find a way. You sit and you look at the text for long enough. You stare at it for long enough. You workshop it for long enough. Something occurs to you. Off the top of my head, I hadn't thought about it, but I'm sure there would be a way.
So Lynn's been waiting with a comment there for a little while. So go ahead.
I love Sarah's idea, if it were possible. If you were really lucky, you could find a non-binary actor who could present either way. Somebody that talented would just be that would just be a tour de force performance. But what I was thinking is that in this period, male homosocial relationships were highly, highly valued from the evidence that we have. My brother, myself, we're like, there's engravings of two guys who look basically identical, hugging each other. It's like the real important relationships are between two men of equal status, blah, 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 blah. And in this story, she becomes a man and says, I want to be your friend. I can be your friend now. And he's like, that's not good enough. I wanted to marry you. I find that really interesting, and it really undermines a lot of the assumptions that we've made so far, that male friendship is somehow better. And Ascanio says, no, that's not what I want. I wanted to marry you. So I wonder how much of that evidence that we have that male friendship was really super valuable is a little too much is a little, sort of overstating the case because men felt threatened rather than because it was genuinely true, if you know what I mean.
Okay, so we'll go to Alexandra on that comment, and then we've got a question from the chat right after that, and then we should maybe move on to the next thing that they wanted to ask. So go ahead, Alexandra.
So to Lynn's point, because we only see this one interaction, I wonder whether it is as you say, or potentially whether this is an example of how to put it mildly, prejudice against transgender people. Which, transgender is not a new thing. The biological operations are relatively newer. But the sentiment and the intention and the people doing, presenting as someone else has been around for a very, very long time. So these would be things that people would sort of resonate with and potentially have very strong opinions about. And that was also for me, that scene was the bit where I was going, true love. Because there's something about the agency point that Sarah was making earlier, that even as a man, she still doesn't have agency because she's essentially a woman transformed. And so she still needs to be on the lower rung of society. I think the reason why, thinking of these things, I think the reason why some of us feel like it's not a huge amount of stakes or it gets easily resolved is because she spends a short amount of time as a man before there being at least the possibility of the resolution. So she doesn't really get to, from an audience's perspective, we don't get to see her sort of acclimatize to and then make use of and suffer the consequences of and all these other things, her transformation. We sort of get little snippets of that and then it's resolved. So the greatest issue that we're seeing is the negative response of the men who found her attractive beforehand. And that's something that the rest of us can easily be like, yeah, that's not stakes in a modern production. So if we wanted to put something on in a modern sense, I think that understanding of stakes would be something that we'd need to really bring forward.
I'm going to read out the question that we got in the chat from Ariane, which is that I find it difficult to evaluate the intervention of the fairies in the economy of the play. Do they play a particular role in it, or do they rather participate in the aesthetics in general? So,
good question.
Yeah, go ahead, Lynn.
Yeah, I think they're just basically part of the atmosphere and the aesthetics. But I was thinking also that it's worth noticing that you have this sort of this pastoral or rural or nature-centered setting in the woods, where crazy things happen. And you have this classical setting, and then you have fairies come in, which are completely different cultural tradition. And the play just sort of syncretizes them. It's just like, yeah, it's all woodsy stuff. The play doesn't seem to be agitated about the fact that Apollo and fairies are two different views of the supernatural. It all exists in the world of the play. So yeah, on the one hand, this play is really in conversation with Ovid, but it conflates Ovid with native tradition as well, and just kind of does that without comment. Like, yeah, that's what we do.
to go ahead, Alan, and then I'm going to tie this.
I was just thinking that we've done a number of pastorals in the recent past, and fairies seem to be almost standard issue, as part of it. And then maybe that's what's expected, particularly the boys' company, because as we've discussed before, if you've got a troop of fairies, maybe non-speaking roles, you can at least provide roles for the junior members of the company to go out and strut the staff.
This is going to tie into the second topic that Lynsey and Agnes wanted to broach, which was, did you feel that you needed to know the background information about the mythological stories or the characters to follow this play? I mean, just this convention of the fairies, for example, sort of ties into that, because it was not unexpected that we would have fairies, and that they're just treated like, yeah, we know they come around. So how much did you feel like you needed to know, or did you feel like you needed to know about the gods and I guess these types of conventions? Okay, so Lynn again, yes, and then Sarah.
I know I talked too much, but I have thoughts. Honestly, I think you put an actor on stage with like a white thing draped across their shoulder, and most of your audience in European-based cultures is going to go, "Oh, Greeky, Romany stuff. Yeah, I know where I am." I don't think you have to be steeped in the classics to understand where you are.
Okay, Sarah.
Yeah, I was pretty much going to say what Lynn says. I mean, I find that it's a difficult question to answer because, like, I mean, I am not steeped in the classics, but there's just so much out there. There are so many references to mythological, deities out there that I don't think, I don't think it matters whether you've read Metamorphosis or not. It's like, the gods that are there. Okay, you've got like Juno and Iris, and I suppose if you didn't know about all the argy-bargy between Juno and Venus, then you might not get some of those references, but it doesn't really matter. And even if you don't know about Phoebus Apollo, he's just kind of a slightly creepy Deus Ex Machina, isn't he? I don't think, if you didn't know who he was, I don't think it would matter. And going back to what Lynn said earlier and in the chat about the production values, this is a play that if you really give it some whammy with the costumes and the sets, if Phoebus Apollo appears in all his sun god glory, then I don't think the audience are gonna, like, even if they don't know who he is, I don't think they're gonna care. They're gonna get that he's some sort of mythological deity who basically holds all the cards.
And
yes, thank you very much for saying this. Yes, I think we totally, this was what we thought, Lynsey and I, that the play is giving out a lot of information by itself. It's just we've been trying to teach this play to our students, and it's also trying to they don't know about plays by Lily, or they know a bit of Shakespeare, but that's, oh, I said the word, sorry. So we were trying to, I know, sorry, Rob, we were trying to decide how much we should add to for context. Something which this reading brought out for me was Echo. The fact that Echo was not an English speaking reader. She repeated the words in a specific manner, giving them a special intonation. And what is really, you said that in the chat, which is really a very well-known type of scene, all of a sudden took out another meaning. And I thought that was really, really interesting, in fact. polyglossia, but multilingualism, or the fact that there is another trying to make sense of what is said. I don't know. So thank you for that. Give me ideas.
So Alexandra.
I just wanted to add something to the mythology point, but your language point also. So I think the play relies on us knowing us, recognizing a lot of things without needing them to be explained. But at the same time, it doesn't set a limit on if you are past this level of education, you will understand this play. If you are not, it won't make sense to you. So it relies on recognition, but it doesn't kind of make that. I think I've phrased it right, it doesn't make it a delineation in the audience, and I think one way in which it does that is language. Is that, unlike a lot of other plays of this period, it doesn't sort of suffocate you with Latin and Greek and aren't I so clever, either writer. Moreover, I think it's not just Greek mythology that it has this reliance on. I think some of the things we pointed out in the chat is how similar tropes and characters and character moments and events, scenes are to other plays. So this group are coming from a perspective of knowing about other plays and therefore having recognition and having sort of, internal understanding that maybe most of us lack in terms of like Greek mythology. But I think that's again, for a modern audience, that's another thing to consider, is that a lot of people will not have heard other plays with echo in them, and lots of other instances of whatever other things we've been pointing out in the chat.
So we don't want to keep you so long, but there was one other topic that we wanted to bring up, and then what we'll do after that is we'll have final thoughts for anybody who has got anything that they want to say about it at all. So the other one that we haven't broached yet was the tone of the play. So we've talked about it in the modern time period, how it possibly would be received today, but was wondering how you thought what the tone would have been when this was during the time period when it was staged, and then what your response to that would be. Obviously, we kind of know how we might feel about today, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. So just about the tone, I guess, from back then. Anyone have any comments? Alan?
I would, I think, put it on with the theme of entertainment. It's an entertaining piece. It's a way to while away an afternoon that's not actually going to cause you to have to think too deeply. It's pleasant background rather than something you're going to come out arguing about what should have happened.
Briony?
Yeah, I agree with Alan. It feels like something that would be nice in like a pub setting or with food, or it's that kind of, it feels very social and fun and like an entertainment, this one. It doesn't feel stuffy and heavy.
Anyone else want to bring up? Lynn?
Yeah, I agree. There's something a little sort of distancing about the way this play goes about telling its story. You never for a moment forget that you're watching a play. There's even a moment when I think maybe it's Joculo who says, "You guys got to keep an eye on my master because he's sleeping," or something like that. There's even a moment when a character talks to the audience. So you never forget that this is a story. So yes, I think it's really about entertainment. It's about beautiful costumes and beautiful voices, and this natural setting, and how lovely it is to imagine that. But at the same time, it kind of smuggles in some really interesting observations about gender and social relationships and stuff like that. So yeah, at the same time, I think it's very sly.
Anybody else have any comments? Go ahead, Alexandra.
On the one hand, yes, to all the fun stuff. On the other hand, the deep stuff is, It's slightly disturbing. You have exactly one named female character in this play, and at one point she becomes a man. So you have, at some point in this play, exactly 0 named and, significant female characters. You can consider the fairies and the muses female, which would have been played by boy actors. They appear in single scenes and achieve nothing for the purposes of the plot. The only woman that you have exists to be fawned over by men and then regretted over by them. And that is her entire purpose in life. I mean, there are things that in a play that were less fun, I would be criticizing and not wanting to sort of put on. I think there's definitely virtue in the fun aspects of it. I think you could cast it with a bigger gender balance. And if you are careful about the gender-related aspect, there's practically no other offensive content, which is like exciting.
I think so. I think what we'll do now is, if somebody still wants to comment on that, you can include in your final thoughts. But does anybody have any final thoughts? We're not going to go to everybody unless you raise your hand and go on you there. So actually, I'm going to bring it up, and I'm not going to say who, but there was a thing.
Sorry, Briony had a hand up.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see Briony. Go ahead, Briony. Yeah.
It's okay if you want to do the question from the chat first, then you can do. Sorry.
No, go ahead. It's all right.
I was just going to say I've kind of not said that much, but I agree with a lot of what people have said today. I think I've perhaps been a bit less engaged than others with the material because I'm less knowledgeable about mythology and stuff than a lot of the people here. But it's been done, as people have said, in such a way that you can still follow it, and I haven't had any great difficulty following it. And it's obviously got some problematic elements, but I think it's been a really enjoyable text. I'm glad I was in the room to read it.
There was a comment in the chat that I just never know how to have topics like rape, Apollo's possible violence in a light comedy. So you want to comment on that, Lynn?
Yeah, can you hear me? This is Tia.
Oh, go ahead, Tia. Yes.
Thanks for reading that, Dan. So I came here knowing Dan. Dan told me that this was a comedy, which I would not have guessed, because I was reading it for my character. And I was like, this is a comedy where she has to evade rape by a god, and then every male character falls in love with her in a claiming kind of way. And so I will say that, being part of it today and having people bring the words to life and play with the rhythm and the songs, I absolutely see, these comedic and very fun and light elements. So then I just would say, as like a modern person who's not a classicist and an actor, audience member, I would be very interested to know what the tone of this could be today for a modern audience who is very aware of who I don't think is in a place of being able to really laugh at certain topics anymore. So yeah, I'm interested in what that could be.
Right, Sarah.
I am not an early modern expert, and in addition, I have a terrible memory, so I forget plays as soon as I've read them. But I have read a lot of plays with this group now, and I'm trying to recall if I've ever read an early modern comedy that wasn't toxic, didn't feature toxic misogyny in some form or other. Some are obviously worse than others, but I don't think I've ever come across one where there hasn't been at least one moment in the text where I've just thought, ew. And it's something like, as a director, when I've got my director's hat on, like if I was, or when I am directing a play that has a lot of toxic misogyny, toxic patriarchy in it, it's something that I have to grapple with through the adaptation and through the way I direct it and through the interpretation of the characters. But I don't think there's an easy, I personally haven't found an easy way of doing it that applies to, that, you know, you could apply to every text. I think you have to take each play. If you decide that you're going to put on a production of a particular play, you have to take that play, and you, as a director or dramaturg, you have to just get in there and see what you can do with it, because it's just there in all of them.
I think we'll wrap it with Lynn, since she's the last one who's got her hand up there, and then we can keep
I mean, he has a really good point. That, I mean, it's not unproblematic, but my answer is always genre. I have an unhealthy obsession with genre, for those of you who are new. So I think you need to establish right away, I mean, before the play starts, and I think in the original production, because it's a boys' company play, and they rarely did tragedies. It was always, you know, basically musical comedy, that it is a comedy, and there's no real threat. I mean, we start out with these two servants of the Duke, you know, being assigned to assassinate this poor woman, but she talks them out of it. So I think the audience has to really feel safe in the hands of the production, that there's no real threat. It's just a story. Everything's going to come out okay in the end. I don't know if that's really kind of a band-aid on a bigger problem, but I think that's how that's how it worked originally. Is like you just know there's never any real threat because of the genre.
I think with that, I'll throw it back over to Agnes and Lynsey if you have any final comments, and then back over to Rob to close out the chat discussion.
Thank you so much, everyone. I just have like one tiny thing that I just feel like I have to mention, because I think it's really interesting that in the chat during the reading, one of the things that got mentioned was Apollo's pansexuality, because of course he starts out, when we first meet him, he's actually like pining for a boy lover who he's lost. And one of the things that I personally have always found really fascinating about this plot is, so we meet Apollo, he's lamenting a boy, then, you know, he changes this woman into a boy mid-play, and somehow at that point, this prevents him from pursuing her anymore. And like I just thought it was kind of interesting that you know, people kind of, you know, mentioned the pansexuality of Apollo, but then didn't actually see this as a kind of problematic part of the plot. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to throw that in at the end here, but I'll maybe hand it over to Agnes.
Yes, well, I'm just going to thank everyone again. I'm just going to say that we have to have discussions about the music, about how much it brings, and how current they were. I mean, some of the mythological common ground that you're pointing is something obvious. We may wonder if it's not the same for the music of that play, if the play is not rehearsing some of the well-known tune at the time. Therefore, it's I think it all goes in the same direction as basically saying that this is rehearsing things that we know in an enjoyable way, in a new way, and because it is an anonymous play, it is also interesting for us to try and think by whom I've been written, and a lot of critiques have been very dismissive about this play, saying it's a hodgepodge of things. And thank you for showing that it actually works when you read it and you believe in it. So I think, yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
And over to you, Rob.
Right, yes. So yeah, I'm just going to close. Just following on from the genre thing, because of course we're always wanting genre as modern people to be tidy and neat, and of course they're not at the time. But I mean, in many ways, it is very akin to all the pastoral stuff that we've done up to this point. We haven't done a lot. There hasn't been that much pastoral. If we go back to the one of the earliest the play, Amintas, just going, you know, this stuff is steeped in sexual violence. You have these bucolic outdoor, oh lovely, look at our playful sheep, comedy rustics, but also threat constantly is part of what's going on there. And that question of, what genre is this? I mean, in a sense, it's not a comedy, it's a pastoral, and the pastoral genre has all those things, and of course we don't really have it today. We have elements of it in other things, but we don't, for a modern audience it's a very odd question of, what are you getting when you come to this, and what are your expectations, and that thing that tone is shifting around, and this play is trying to do all the things it does seem to be, and not in a hodgepodge way. It's doing it in a very calculated way, that it is swinging from here is some comedy business between the main plot action, that is doing some really good, slightly saucy, very rude humor at times, but that also complements and contrasts with some of the other stuff as well. I'm not going to repeat what I said in the or other thoughts I said in the other videos, so I'm going to stop there. Yes, this is our second time through, but third video. I'm sure we will return to this text in different and other ways further along the lines. If you'd like to see us do more on it, you can go and support us on our Patreon, where we might, if you're very lucky, produce a full cast audio adaptation of this, or take it even further in other directions in the future. Do support us at patreon.com/Beyond Shakespeare. All that remains is to thank all the wonderful readers for their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye. Welcome, bad boy.